Nobody on the internet ever takes the time to ask themselves, is this worth freaking out over? Or are there bigger problems in the world than this tweet?
Number 10. The burden of intelligence.
Good Lord! If I don't do something, his stupidity will kill him. And then I'd lose Brian forever.
When a benign brain tumor is attributed to a sudden drop in Brian's intelligence, Stewie tricks his recklessly dumb friend into having it removed for his own safety. Brian initially seems grateful for this intervention.
Being in this hospital bed, I feel like the main character of As I Lay Dying, as he or she lay dying.
However, his sentimental speech is punctuated by a sarcastic rant about having to return to a life of a squandered mind. It's a frank reminder of how depressing intelligence can be, especially when it's particularly aware of one's failures. Brian also sums up the tragic lifestyle that fans have come to love more than they probably should. Stewie's response that there are still fun times to be had with this lifestyle may be a relief for them, but it doesn't seem to be a load off Brian's mind.
You unilaterally decided I was better off a bitter alcoholic failure who can only hang out with a baby.
Hey, we have fun.
Number 9. Stewie doesn't age. After accidentally selling Rupert, Brian tries to reassure Stewie that he's getting too old for a teddy bear. It's a logical statement when Family Guy was 5 seasons in at the time, so when Stewie reminds us that he's only 1 year old, Brian is understandably confused.
Look, Stewie, don't you think at some point you're gonna have to let Rupert go? I mean, you are getting a little old to have a teddy bear.
Brian, I'm 1.
Still? What?
The two quickly brush off this awkward acknowledgement of the trope known as the floating timeline. This means that no matter how long a show has been on, its canon doesn't age.
It's Stewie's first Christmas.
Again?
Since this admits that it would be impossible for Family Guy to be contained in a single year, the show has embraced its floating timeline in many creative ways. But this quick exchange stands out for Brian echoing viewers' shock that Stewie may never outgrow Rupert.
You're not really over Rupert, are you?
No.
That's what I thought.
Oh, crone!
Number 8. Babies are obnoxious. It can be hard to stay quiet when a baby won't do the same in public.
Brian, do you like children?
I love children, that's why I'm here.
When Brian has his meal at Denny's spoiled by incessant crying, he shows the kid how to really make a scene. This startling rant against publicly shrieking babies and their powerless parents is considered a classic, intense Brian gag.
Wah! Wah! You like that? Huh? You like that? Wah! You just tune this out, don't you?
That's partly for the catharsis in him voicing many people's outrage at this situation. Yes, it's true that not even the most capable parents can do much about public tantrums, but honestly, can you completely blame Brian for throwing his own tantrum?
Look, I was angry because my moon over my hammy was overcooked.
Number 7. Where do the Simpsons live? The highly anticipated crossover between Family Guy and The Simpsons kicks off with the Griffin's car getting stolen just outside of Springfield.
Oh my God, a car!
Someone's stealing it!
Stewie's question about which state they're in insinuates just how lost the family is. Brian's response, however, suggests that they should just keep that information to themselves.
Huh, guess we're in a town called Springfield.
Springfield, eh? What state?
I can't imagine we're allowed to say.
The American state that the Simpsons live in may be one of the great mysteries in modern pop culture. We all have our own fan theories about where exactly the Simpsons live, but it sounds like the truth of the matter is a serious secret.
You can see the 4 states that border Springfield: Ohio, Nevada, Maine, and Kentucky.
Oh yeah.
Number 6. So many songs named for women.
Would you mind listening to this song I've written for Susie Swanson and tell me what you think?
Okay.
When Stewie sets out to compose a song to woo newborn Susie Swanson, Brian mocks him every step of the way. At least Brian starts off on the right note by criticizing the lack of originality in the song's title, Susie.
What's it called?
Susie.
Wow, a song named after a girl. There aren't a million of those already.
He doesn't miss a beat when Stewie demands that he list other songs named after women, coming up with 31 examples off the top of his head.
Name 6 more.
Sherry, Laura, Wendy, Maria, Peggy Sue, Minnie the Moocher.
This is a hilariously harsh reminder that the world is already full of silly love songs. If the title Susie is the peak of Stewie's songwriting skills, it's no wonder he ends up just covering Bryan Adams. Number 5. Lando was wearing Han's clothes. Family Guy writers weren't above calling out their favorite movie's plot holes when they spoofed the original Star Wars trilogy.
Isn't a parsec a unit of distance, not time?
At the end of the Empire Strikes Back episode, Brian's Chewbacca notices that Lando Calrissian is wearing Han Solo's clothes, then breaks the fourth wall to encourage viewers to revisit the original scene.
Seriously, watch the actual movie. Lando is wearing Han's clothes in this scene. It's really weird.
Sure enough, during the movie's finale, Lando helms the Millennium Falcon in his carbonite-frozen friend's signature wardrobe. He He likely didn't have time to pack a spare outfit during the quick getaway from Cloud City, but the lack of context for this coincidental tailoring threw some viewers off. The Empire Strikes Back may still captivate fans to the end, but Brian reminds us that we and the filmmakers should have been more vigilant.
Oh, there he goes with that crap again. Keep it in church, man.
Number 4. You've got a lot to see. Brian's attitude about bitter agoraphobic Pearl changes after he learns of her tragic music career.
That's Habanera from Carmen. Oh, I've never heard it sung so beautifully.
While trying to convince her to face the 21st century in a song, he stays pretty honest about its less romantic wonders. America's obsession with branding after the 1960s is a particularly hot topic. You have celebrity politicians, baldness cures, political correctness, and more.
The Reagan years have laid the frame for movie stars to play the White House game. We're not too far from voting Feldman hame.
It seems like anything is possible nowadays, at least if you're not of a marginalized group. You've got a lot to see won Family Guy its second Emmy, and after over 2 decades, most of the absurdities that Brian observed in the modern world have held up. We can only hope to have better luck in it than Pearl does.
So hurry, 'cause you've got a lot to see.
Number 3. Cancel culture is absurd. Brian's Twitter obsession backfires when a racially insensitive joke turns him into a pariah online and off.
Wow, you are blowing up! Blowing up bad. Up, look at that! Huffington Post just picked it up. Buckle up, buddy!
When a mob keeps policing his contrived apology, he voices his real opinion. Brian's takedown of moral harassment on social media first aired at the top of what will be dubbed cancel culture. While the value of the movement has been subject to debate, most agree with Brian that it's cheapened by trolls blowing mundane political incorrectness out of proportion.
But nobody on the internet ever takes the time to ask themselves, is this worth freaking out over? Or are there bigger problems in the world than this tweet? Well, I assure you, there are.
Of course, his more tone-deaf comments and violent threats during the rant prompt him to move out of the Griffin house for the family's sake. Brian comes home 2 episodes later, apparently not having learned much about watching what you say.
And I have to move out again.
Number 2. Tell it to the internet.
Gosh, this is a lovely home, Tracy.
That's so weird. It smells like there's a cat, but I bet there's no cat.
Brian requires more suspension of disbelief than the average talking dog. His particularly scandalous love life hits a wild extreme with the discovery of his illegitimate son. A 13-year-old human, Dylan, is somehow older than his father. When Stewie addresses this paradox, refusing to believe Brian's explanation of dog years, he's advised to take his criticism to the internet.
You know what, Stewie? If you don't like it, go on the internet and complain.
This jarringly meta remark is an obvious response to Family Guy viewers who try to make sense of TV's most controversial canine. Fans are certainly entitled to their beliefs, but most of them believe that you just have to go with the show milking cartoon surrealism for all it's worth. At least Brian assures his critics that their complaints about Dylan are noted.
I think the magic's starting to happen already.
The dreaded dream ending. After Stewie decides to finally kill Lois, the epic aftermath ends with his demise.
It's just been revoked!
But then, it's revealed that the whole bloody affair was Stewie watching a simulation of how his plot would pan out. When Brian learns this, he theorizes that anyone else who watched the simulation would hate the revelation that it was essentially all a dream.
Yes, but theoretically, if someone watched the events of that simulation from start to finish, only to find out that none of it really happened, I mean...
The twist that a major plot development never actually happened is considered one of the most frustrating tropes in storytelling. Brian speaks to the many fans who were outraged by this cop-out resolution to Stewie's matricidal threats. They've since embraced this height of Family Guy's cynical self-awareness. Besides, as Stewie says, a dream ending is still better than a Sopranos cut to black.
Well, at least it didn't end like The Sopranos, where it just cut to black in mid-sentence.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.